Welcome to Women Entrepreneurs Radio. I'm your host, Deborah Bailey. And when I started this show in 2008, I was on a mission to promote women-owned businesses and help women succeed by providing resources and valuable tips from other women and men, small business owners. In each interview, my guests speak openly about their triumphs, the scary times, and tough decisions they had to make along the way. Women Entrepreneurs Radio is about showing women how to harness their natural strengths to achieve success on their own terms. Hi everyone, welcome to Women Entrepreneurs Radio, and I'm your host, Deborah Bailey. I'm really glad that you could join me today. And if you're listening to this show on Podomatic, you can also find it on iTunes. You can go to the Women Entrepreneur Secrets blog and click on the radio link in the menu bar, and you will find links for all the different platforms that the show is on. It's also on Liveston. Some of the older shows and newer shows are being moved there as well, and those shows are being pushed out to YouTube and to LinkedIn and Google Play and all different places. So you can find some links there and you can listen in many different ways. So I hope you'll do that. And also you can visit my site, thebaileycoach.com, and I've just started some coaching services for entrepreneurs in transition, making changes in their business. And also there's some other resources there that I hope you'll check out. So please visit that site as well. And also, if you are an iTunes subscriber, please consider leaving a review about the program, because that always helps with the algorithms and the show being shown to more people when they're on iTunes. Or you can leave feedback on the blog as well. That's also great. Just want to hear from you how you are enjoying the show. So we're going to get started with my guest. Megan Shea is the co-founder and head of business and operations of the Soulfull Project, a mission-focused startup company dedicated to making high-quality, wholesome food available to those in need. For every serving of their delicious multi-grain hot cereal purchase, they donate a serving of their 4-grain blend to a food bank in that region. The company has donated more than 100,000 servings to food banks across the country and recently became a certified B corporation. So welcome to the show, Megan.
Thanks so much for having me.
Really glad that you could join me. And this show will be airing right after Thanksgiving. Those of you listening, I guess you would have had a lot to eat, hopefully, whether you're going out or doing something on your own or whatever. But there's also, I think, more information these days about people not just running to the stores, but also giving back. And I'm hearing a lot more and more about that, and I think that's really exciting. So, before we get more into what you've set up and how you've done that, could you just share the inspiration behind starting the Soulfull Project?
Sure. The Soulfull Project actually started because we had made a promise to help someone in need, and we never followed through on it. It really came out of a failure of myself and my co-founder, Chip. We had met a family that was very much in need. They were not only trying to make good choices around what they should be eating every day, but also just how to put food on the table. Mm-hmm. We had this meeting with them, and we spent some time in their home, and they showed us their kitchen, and they had no food in their house, not even a gallon of milk, nothing. Mm-hmm. And we were so touched by this family because they were really just trying to do the best that they could and make good choices. And we left there and said, we're going to give them money, we're going to give them food, right? But we wanted to do something more impactful, something to really help them. And then we came back to our jobs and our families, young kids, soccer practice, all that stuff that goes along with it. And a day turned into a week, turned into a month, and a year had gone by, and we had never followed through on that. And we had made this promise because we really wanted to help, but life just got in the way. It just found that it was really hard. We didn't know where to start. How do you really help someone in a more meaningful way? So about a year after that, we were working in Camden, New Jersey, which is also a community that's very much struggled. And we were working in this warehouse, and there was a knock at the door, and it was a mom with 3 kids asking if we had any food to put on our table that night for dinner. And we gave her extra food and looked at each other and said, you know, we didn't really help her, and we never followed through on that promise. And that night, we came up with the idea of building a business that made those good choices really easy. So it's, 1, good choices about the type of food you eat, feeling good about what you're getting for yourself, but giving you a really easy way to help a neighbor in need with just your everyday purchases. So it's really meant to give you a way to give back every day to your community. And that's where the idea of the Soulfull Project came from.
Well, that's really a very powerful story, I think, because people really don't know how many of their neighbors may be going through something where they don't have the food for their families. And, you know, people don't want to go out asking because there's a lot of shame tied to this, to admitting that you can't do that. You don't have the food to feed your family. So there's a lot going on here, a lot of undercurrents here for people to really reach out and let folks know, or even to find the resources, I think is extremely important because they're not always there either.
I agree.
Yeah.
I think, you know, 1 in 8 Americans, according to Feeding America, are struggling with food insecurity. And I think it's really, you know, I think for a lot of us, right, you look at a community and you can say, oh, this community, you know, might need some help. But what we've really learned over the past year as we've gone and traveled around the country and met with these food banks and seen the need firsthand is that it does not discriminate. Food insecurity in this country affects every community. Even in the most well-off communities, there are people that do not know where their next meal is going to come from. And in many cases, especially right now, the majority of people leveraging food banks are either senior citizens living on a fixed income and having to make choices between, you know, paying for medical care or for food. You have many others that are leveraging food banks that are really using it because something happened. Most of them are employed. Most of the families that leverage food banks are actually employed. And they're using the food banks because they can't make it to the end of the month. And so when we look around today and we say, wow, it's getting cold here on the East Coast, right? Time to turn the heat on. And you think about the burden that puts on families, you know, just the oil and the gas cost. And so that's really where the food banks come in, and it affects every community across the country. It's really amazing. Then on the other side, I think for so many of us, we all want to do more, right? We all want to help. And it's hard to do that, honestly. You know, at least for, I think, talking to a lot of people, myself included, you don't really know, you know, how can I help? How can I fit it into my life? How can I, you know, really give back in an impactful way? And that's what we've really seen with the Soulfull Project is not only are there so many of us that want to do more and want to make it a part of our everyday life, but for so many of us, it's also, you know, realizing that they're beyond just, you know, buying a product like Soulfull Project. There are so many community organizations that, you know, could use an hour of your time, you know.
Yes, that's true. And there's a food bank in northern New Jersey that I'm aware of that has people come and volunteer and do all kinds of things. And, you know, I've received emails from them and sent contributions and things. And, you know, they really emphasize that having people come out and help out is really important. And that really helps them to do what they're doing, you know, to serve the people. That's a good thing to mention because everybody doesn't realize it. Sometimes it's just a matter of them giving their time to this that could really be extremely helpful. But you create a certified B corporation, and I just would like you to just share a little bit about what that is for those listeners who may be interested themselves but may have never heard of this designation before.
Absolutely. It's a proud moment that we actually got certified. B Corp certification, or as well as a public benefit corporation, is a type of company. That means that you have to return a public benefit beyond just returning value to your shareholders. So in our charter as a corporation, it is around our mission of equalizing access to wholesome and nutritious food. And then there's a not-for-profit called B Lab that certifies public benefit corporations. And so you have to take I think it's a 225 question survey and answer really around, what is your mission? What are you trying to do? And then you have to prove it, and they audit you. And if you score high enough, then you are a certified B Corp. And it was a really proud moment for us when we got that, because it meant, beyond the fact that we started this company to give back and to do something good, that we actually have results and we're holding ourselves to a really high standard.
Wow, that's really great. It's I've heard of it, but just in passing. So, you're the first person I've talked to who has that designation, and congratulations for that.
Thank you.
Yeah, for that achievement, because a lot of people, I'm sure you meet a lot of entrepreneurs who really want their businesses to serve, and they may not be aware that there's different things that they can do. But what were the challenges in you building this business and having this mission in mind of giving back? It seems like, there may be some conflicts at times between what you're building and then knowing that these other things that you want to do as well.
I think kind of first is Chip and myself, neither of us set out to be entrepreneurs. Both my parents had small businesses, and I watched them try to make payroll every Friday, and I swore I would never have my own business. It was so difficult. I couldn't believe that they would continue to do it. But when we had met this family and then realized that we had this opportunity to actually help neighbors in need, help people get more involved, to do something really good, it became very much a driving force for us. And I think, but there wasn't a lot of belief among either of us that we could actually do this. It really felt like, could we do this? We continued to question it. And so I think that, probably the biggest challenge was, how would we make a brand that was mission driven and that gave back for every purchase, right? So for every serving that someone buys, we donate a serving. How do we make that work? Do we, will we have a business model that could work and support that and make sure that we're a sustainable business? The food that we, launched with, right, which is breakfast, a hot cereal, and we really wanted to make sure that we were providing really nutritious and wholesome ingredients. So ingredients like steel-cut oats and quinoa, chia and flax, all of the things that more people are looking for in their diet. But is it, will people like the product? And will they like it enough to tell someone? And can we actually, bring that to life and support a giving around it? And so, for us, I think the biggest challenge has been really, let's make sure that we are doing it the right way. And so we started really small. We just launched a little bit over a year ago with just 14 Wegmans stores and 3 giving partners. And our goal then was really to understand, do people like the product, and can we deliver on the mission? And we expected to kind of learn and stay in this very small market test, kind of learning and iterating for about a year. But what was so amazing and so surprising and, amazing was that within the first 3 months, consumers really responded. People really responded to the idea of a healthy, wholesome breakfast that they like, that helps a neighbor. And so we were actually able to expand from those 14 Wegmans to about 65 Wegmans. And then our giving partner network went from the 3 giving partners just around the New Jersey and Philadelphia area to over 200 food banks across the country.
Wow.
And it's been just incredible over the past year to see people really responding and getting behind the idea of a company that, is good choices for them, that help a neighbor. But I think probably the biggest challenge has just been about, making sure that we're doing this right and phasing it. appropriately.
And yeah, I was about to ask about that, because once you've got this success that's happening so quickly, how do you kind of, I don't know, I don't want to say put the brakes on it, but how do you stop and say, okay, we have to expand in the right way? Because I would think if you're really excited about the momentum, that you just want to get out there and do as much as possible right away.
Yeah. I think the first thing was we needed to make sure that the mission could stand up and we could support the mission with the growth. And so we have been, we track on our end for every sale that we make. And so we have a network of the 200 food banks already identified all around the country, and we track on our end. And as we accumulate enough donations, we'll be making a donation run. But the other one is that we've really been prioritizing meeting with these giving partners. And so there's 2 of us, and we've been traveling all around the country, meeting with food banks all around the country and introducing ourselves, giving them samples of the product, talking about what we'll be donating, or in the food banks in the Northeast and Mid-Atlantic, actually making the first donation run, but also hearing about what do they need? How can we help them? And so this morning I was up in northern New Jersey volunteering with Fulfill, a food bank up there. Last week we were in Michigan. The week before that we were in Tennessee. And it's really incredible to go into each of these local communities and meet with these food banks and see how different they are. Because just like the communities they serve, they all need different things. And so it's been really incredible to go in and learn. And that's the biggest thing that we've been prioritizing, is making sure that our mission is leading our growth.
So, how are you really finding these different food banks to make these connections? Are you just kind of looking, I guess, doing queries online to find them, or do you have contacts who are helping you to be connected to these different places?
So we leveraged Feeding America, the national organization of food banks, has a map of food banks that serve every region in the country. And we leverage their network of food banks and their map, because we know that those food banks are audited and they're doing the work that they say they're doing, and so on. And we also know that with that network, we can cover every part of the country. But when we go and meet with them, sometimes, we're cold calling. Sometimes we're looking up names on the internet, and sometimes, you don't get a response because they're so busy and they don't know who you are, because, we're still such a new brand. And so sometimes we just show up. But, we showed up at a food bank last week in Michigan and had an incredible conversation, and then wound up going back the next day and touring and having lunch at a new restaurant that someone had opened for them. And so it was a half restaurant and half food pantry. And so the restaurant actually was staffed by local chefs, and the food was delicious and for sale. And then the proceeds from that restaurant benefited the food bank. And off to the side of that restaurant was a food pantry that was open to serve members of the community. And so it was something that food bank had developed for the community of Battle Creek, and it was incredible and it was inspiring. And but that was one of those that we just showed up. But it was great.
Wow.
So we might be showing up on the food bank stores in the coming weeks.
So how are you managing all this travel and connection, and also, managing the day-to-day of the business? Are you finding that very challenging right now?
I think what we really learned is you just continue pushing forward. And so managing the day-to-day means that, we typically when we're driving around meeting with these food banks, someone's driving and the other person is working on their laptop in the car. And so it is just about working wherever you can, right? When you're meant to be at work. And, both Chip and myself, with kids, young kids, in our homes. And, we're very focused on the fact that, when we're working, and when we're not, right, we're home and focused on our families. And so it's just, you're constantly looking to find that balance.
Right.
And moving forward.
Yeah, I think that's also it because you know have something here that requires you to really go out there and make these connections and build on your momentum. But then at the same time, you've got to manage your business and your lives and there's all of these things you know going on at the same time that I think sometimes the entrepreneurs who or have a smaller I guess a business they really have to juggle it. You know, you don't have this big gigantic corporation where you're setting up teams of people all over the place. You're really managing it yourself, and I think that's always a challenge is how to get all those things done and really keep everything moving forward. So as far as you getting like into Wegmans, you know, was how did you make that connection? Because I know there are entrepreneurs who also want to get into different stores and things and really trying to get their products out there. You know, was that difficult to do?
So we were actually working for the Campbell Soup Company when we developed this idea. And we were employees, and we did this at night on weekends on the sides while we were doing our day jobs for Campbell's. So when we were ready to launch, we took it to Campbell's and told them about the idea, and they agreed to fund it as a startup. So we left our roles at Campbell's and moved over to Soulfull. But we still operate very much like a startup. There are two of us. But on the other side of it, that was one of the, you know, so on that one with Wegmans specifically, we knew someone at Campbell's that knew the buyer at Wegmans, and they did the introduction for us. So that one we leveraged and we're so grateful for that connection. But walking into the room, the Wegmans buyer, it was our first time meeting him, and he was one of the first people outside of the giving partners that I had actually seen this idea. And we were terribly nervous. You know, I wasn't sure what he was going to think about it. And Wegmans has just been from that first meeting, just an incredible partner to us in understanding, you know, that you have a lot to learn when you launch something new, and especially the mission driven in a market. And they allowed us to, you know, focus on these 3 giving partners, and they helped pick stores that surrounded those giving partners. The people that work at Wegmans, the store managers, they know these food banks. They give food to the food banks every day. And so they've been incredibly supportive and telling, you know, their customers about it as well. So on that side, it's been incredible. As we've expanded our distribution, sometimes, you know, for a lot of them, we've had to cold call customers and, you know, beg to get a meeting. And, you know, I think that one just comes down to pure perseverance. And, you know, just, I've never heard more no's in my life than I have over the past year. I don't do very well with no, but I'm coming to terms with it. I think I've learned that you just have to have really thick skin, and you just got to go in and do it again. And it's amazing, though, with perseverance, we've seen a lot of no's turn into maybes and then to a yes. And so it's been a year of learning how to persevere.
That's an excellent point. I think that's a thing that a lot of people who want to start a business or who are in business kind of shy away from, because the whole idea of people telling you no may be something you don't want to deal with, because, to put it nicely. But, you know, but it's from every, you know, people I've talked to here, that's just part of it. You know, it's not a personal thing. It's just part of what they've had to do and still do. You know, I don't think that ever really stops. But you know, so that's something that I think business owners have in common. You know, but when you both working on this idea and you really felt that, well, I think we have something here. You know, how long did it take for you to decide, okay, we're going to present this idea, or we're going to really take action on it? You know, because I can imagine it must have been a bit nerve-wracking to think about really doing this thing.
It was very nerve-wracking. We kept it to ourselves. We only told a few people about it. I mean, the first night that we came up with the idea, I remember running home and telling my husband and my mother, like, we have the most amazing idea. We were so excited. But then, and you wake up the next morning, you're like, was that still a good idea? It's like, yes, that was still a good idea. Let's keep going.
Yes.
And every day it was like, yes, this is still a good idea. Keep going.
Right.
The first people outside that we actually showed it to was the Food Bank of South Jersey.
Mm-hmm.
And that one was very eye-opening for us as well. We want to make sure that creating a mission-driven business that we're actually helping them.
Mm-hmm.
And, we went in and we were afraid they weren't going to like it.
Mm-hmm.
Will it fit into their model? Is this what they're looking for? And in fact, they actually helped us develop what we donate because they looked and said, this is great, but if you're going to be donating to us, this is the type of product we'd like. So what we actually donate is our 4-grain blend of hot cereal, and it's in a 10-serving resealable bag. There's no sugar added, and that's really critical because many people that are using food banks are struggling, actually like most Americans, with a lot of health issues, and diabetes is one of them. And so by not adding any sugar, it allows people to sweeten to their taste or what they need. And there's also no nuts or fruit because the ability for people to customize is really important. So if you think about a family going through and if the only thing you're offering is a blueberry and someone doesn't like blueberries, that's a problem. And so our 4-grain blend was developed with the Food Bank of South Jersey, and we're really proud of that. But that was one of those where they came back and said, this is great, we love it, but here's what we need from you. And, we really tried to respond to that. And so we're very proud of what we donate, and we sell it as well. Same quality food.
Yeah, that's a great idea, though. And it makes sense because I think a lot of people, when they create things, a lot of times are doing it in a vacuum. They have this idea. It's like, great, but does anybody want this? Does anybody need this? And how do they need it? It's wonderful that you did that in the beginning, because a lot of times people don't do that. They just kind of run off and then they find out that maybe there were some things they should have found out first. So I think that's the perfect way to do this kind of thing. But Megan, can you please share with everyone where they can find out more about you and your business?
Sure. So our website, www.Soulfull Project, Soulfull with 2 L's, project.com, has our store locator, as well as you can buy the products there if anyone's interested. And then we'll donate to the food bank from each purchase. We're at Wegmans, so up and down the East Coast. And in the coming weeks, our distribution will grow significantly. And so we will be at Earth Fair in North Carolina, Jewel in Chicago, Stop and Shop in Shaw's in the East Coast, and then Fred Meyer on the West Coast. So we're really excited about the growth. So,
what advice would you give to other women entrepreneurs who are listening and may have a similar idea or maybe just have something completely different and are maybe a little nervous about stepping out there? What could you share with them?
I think the first one is that I never set out to be an entrepreneur or to run our own business. I think that the idea was such a motivating and a desire for us to actually help. And it's compelled everything that I've done over the past 2 years. And so I think the first one is that if you have that driving force, there's probably never a good time in your life to do it. So just start somewhere, and continue working through it. And the second one, I think it goes back to our earlier conversation. It's, understand that people will tell you no. People will probably tell you that your idea is horrible or it's not a good idea. But if, you should listen if there's some good feedback in there. But at the end of the day, it's your idea. And if you have a belief in it, you've got to be the one to kind of pick yourself up and persevere and keep going. And I think it's really important. I think it's very easy. I know myself included. It's very easy to kind of get caught up in the no's or the, how am I going to get this done? The doubting, the second guessing yourself. But at the end of the day, the only one that's going to move your business forward as an entrepreneur is yourself. And it's an amazing opportunity to have the ability to do that. But at the same time, it requires significant courage and perseverance to keep going. That's what I've learned.
Yeah,
I need to remind myself of every day.
Well, I could tell from everything that's happening and happening so quickly that, you really have to figure out, okay, how am I going to move forward with this? Now we've got something going. So I definitely can see how that, you really got to sometimes figure it out as you go. We mentioned before this show is going to be airing after Thanksgiving. I just want to ask, what do you hope that people take away from this idea, when it comes to things like Giving Tuesday?
Yeah, I love Giving Tuesday. I think it's such a great idea. I think that it's easy to feel like maybe one person can't make a difference. And what I have seen over the past year and a half is one person absolutely, even from the smallest amount, can make a difference. So, if you're donating $1, $5, an hour, a couple hours, or, an hour, a couple hours every week, all of that matters and it all adds up. And there's so much need. So when I look at Giving Tuesday, I think that's amazing. And I love that so many people are making it a priority during the holiday season to give back. And it's so important to the food banks. And I think, as well as organizations throughout the country, but I think we need to remember that all of us can continue to do more every day, not just around the holidays and in the littlest, simplest ways.
I agree. That's true. It's not just certain times of year. I think that's perfect advice, Megan. And, as we wrap up the show, do you have any final thoughts or anything that maybe we didn't mention or, you just like to leave with the listeners?
No, I think that this has been a great opportunity. And I think it's really, we're just starting out and I'm just starting out as well. And, I would love to hear, feedback. And I'm always looking to meet other women entrepreneurs or other entrepreneurs in general, because we never set out to do this. So I'm always looking to learn and get advice as well. So really appreciate and hopefully it was helpful.
Oh, very helpful. I think it's really exciting, and I'm so glad that you could join me, Megan, and take time out of your very busy schedule, because I think this is a wonderful business idea, and I wish you so much success with it going forward. It's really wonderful. So thanks so much for joining me.
Oh, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Thanks for the opportunity.
So everyone, I know you enjoyed this show with Megan Shea, and please check out Soulfull Project. Please see what you can do to give back. And, really keep in mind the friends and neighbors, family members who may not be letting you know what's going on with them. But, just remember to hold that idea, as Megan said, not just on holidays, but throughout the year. I think that's something we could all benefit from. So, once again, it's been Women Entrepreneurs Radio with your host, Deborah Bailey. Really glad you could join me today. And we'll see you again next time. Bye-bye. Thanks for joining us. You can also join in the conversation on Facebook.com/Women Entrepreneurs and on the website, WomenEntrepreneurSecrets.com. And don't forget to listen in on dvcoach.podomatic.com and on iTunes.